Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Talking Tactics Daily. My name is Daniel Tiluk. We didn't tape yesterday because Half Hope and I did the podcast, the actual podcast, episode 439. I want to say 438, somewhere 438. So wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, go find that. We talked about Maresca and Leroy Senior and Ruben Amorim. Some of the things we'll touch on today, but like in the same partnership that we always had. And I think next week we're going to try to get Carl Anka on to see maybe if we can talk more about Manchester United. So there was a lot of football on today. I waited until later at night so I can actually watch some of the highlights. I think there were like 8 games on, six of them were on at the same time, so it was kind of hard to keep track of everything. But you can watch enough highlights and get an idea, and it's easy, more or less, to discuss the narratives at hand. So I guess we start, not even I guess we start, we are starting with Manchester City drawing their 3rd straight game. So they drew with Sunderland, then they drew Chelsea, and now they've drawn with Brighton. So the Sunderland draw, Sunderland have become a team, even though they just were promoted back, you can't take them lightly. They took points off Arsenal. They've taken points off of Manchester City now. They're a team that's very difficult to beat. So you can maybe excuse that draw. Chelsea, it's more difficult to excuse this one because Chelsea had just sacked their manager. The game is at home. You would think they're being managed by somebody who doesn't even have their official coaching badges yet. So not losing, but drawing with Chelsea in the manner that one happened, which was at the death after Chelsea basically didn't show up in the first half. There were moments in the second half where Chelsea actually played quite well. But yeah, Manchester City should have won that game. So you've dropped 4 points in 2. What you can't do is drop another 3 points or 2 points to Brighton. And they go up through a Erling Haaland penalty. But Mitoma scores a great goal in the second half. And the frailties of Manchester City's defense are being exposed throughout the complete game. There are so many chances that Brighton had to score, not just the goal that they did, but others that would have put Manchester City in under even further pressure. There have been rumors that they want to get rid of Nathan Ake in this window, yet he's playing. Make that make sense. You've got a young defender that they recalled, whose name is escaping my mind. There's obviously Kuzanov, who they bought last year around this time, who hasn't quite worked out. So Pep Guardiola has a makeshift back four, in every sense of the word, and Manchester City just they look shaky. And it's happening at the worst possible time because this is a Manchester City were in a window where if they win these games against Sunderland, against Chelsea, against Brighton, you're exerting pressure on Arsenal, who are having to play some difficult games coming up. So they were having to play Aston Villa. Then they were having to play, I think they played Liverpool sometime. If you're listening to this, it'll be today. If you just catch it, it'll be they play tomorrow. So Arsenal's schedule was relatively difficult compared to Manchester City, but Manchester City are the best hope that the Premier League has to create a title race. And the last 3 games, you drop 6 points. It's effectively like losing 2, winning 1 and losing 2. You can't do that. Not against this Arsenal team that are manufacturing ways to win games, even when perhaps they shouldn't. So for most people, I think it's a disappointment that Manchester City they don't look likely to fulfill the idea of having a title race. But if you're an Arsenal fan, best case scenario, and Arsenal haven't won the league since 2004, the invincible season, so this will be 22 years. So over 2 decades since Arsenal won the league. And, there could be conversations about how bad the league is, how low the league is relative to seasons previous. Liverpool. It's late. I need to sleep. Liverpool had that same conversation last year where people were complaining, it's not a title race. Liverpool are walking the league, da da da. Obviously, the city four-peat before. People are like, the league is not that good, especially once the kind of Jurgen Klopp Liverpool team reached its end. So Arsenal are kind of benefactors, perhaps, of the right time. They're just in the perfect window to take advantage of the league being not as competitive as many remember. And I think a lot of the times, people who have watched Premier League football for the last 2, 3, 4 decades, all of the seasons kind of run together, and then they all kind of, the feeling that there's some level of parity. But if you go back, Manchester United weren't winning the league by 1 or 2 points every season. Some of those seasons they would win by like 6, 7, 8. Chelsea would win the league by 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Like there's always a gap, So I think this is seemingly Arsenal's opportunity, but who knows? Tomorrow maybe Liverpool come up with an idea that can get them 3 points, and then people will be saying, well, in this round of fixtures, Manchester City caught up a point instead of sacrificing 2. It's just going to be up to what Liverpool provide tomorrow and what Arsenal provide tomorrow. Is there anything else worth discussing? I think perhaps it's worth talking about Semenyo. I'm trying to word this in a kind way, because I rate Semenyo, the player, and I think he's quite good, the Bournemouth wide player. I wonder if that's a player that Manchester City really desperately, truly need in this moment. Because when you look at what their defensive back four is going through, and the timing of when they're to get either Stones or Diaz or whoever their center backs are back, this should be a window where the primary piece, like the first piece that should be coming through, is a defender. Not one that's on loan, but one of repute, like an international, qualified, bona fide, world-class defender. Not even a Kuzanov, who's like a seemingly interesting prospect who may pan out or may not pan out. You need somebody that's good. So Mark Guehi has been earmarked as somebody that Manchester City might be going for, but that's a waste of time. There's no way Mark Guehi and his agents would ever allow Manchester City to prize him from Crystal Palace at this moment in time, when in a few months he's a free agent. And in being a free agent, you get your contract money, and then you get the signing on fee, which many people understand to be a portion of a prospective transfer fee. So let's say Manchester City, we're going to pay 40 million, 45 million, maybe even 30 for Mark Guehi because he's in the last 6 months of his contract, and they want to make sure that Crystal Palace release him. Mark Guehi's looking at like, if they have 40 million, or his representatives are looking at like, if they have 40 million to pay Crystal Palace, why don't we just wait and then maybe use the idea that Antonio Rudiger isn't going to stay at Real Madrid, or the as bad as Manchester City's defensive issues are, Barcelona don't have center backs, or Liverpool are maybe going to go back for Guehi. There's so many teams that you could theorize that want an England international who's probably going to end up starting for England, or if he's not going to start for England, he'll feature in the World Cup definitely. Why? there's going to be so many suitors that it would make sense to wait until I'm no longer under contract, and then I can play you guys off of each other rather than just deal with one entity who may be in duress. But I'd rather have the option of using the even it may not even be real, but the supposed leverage of a move to Liverpool to kind of put Manchester City in an even better bargaining place if we're Guehi's camp. So, but that's just one center back. There are many center backs out there. I don't know who potentially Manchester City could go for, but that's way more important at this moment in time than Semenyo. Not saying Semenyo isn't needed, wanted, useful. When you look at the context of what's going on with Savinho and the age of Bernardo Silva and the experiment of Jeremy Doku and how that's kind of going, which is it's going all right, but it's not great. Semenyo is a player that can provide goals. I think he scored around 30 goals in the past two and a half seasons. I don't know if that's all comps. I saw the stat that it was 31 goals and I think 11 or 10 assists. If that's all in the Premier League, then that's amazing for a player that's playing for Bournemouth. Even if it's all comps, that's still good. So adding Semenyo to that group, Marmoush is the one that I was thinking that was more or less, he's in that Kuzanov. All of their signings last winter, Kuzanov, Marmoush, Nico Gonzalez, and there was another one. None of them have really panned out in a way that it's like, yeah, that guy's going to be at Manchester City for the next 6-7 seasons, being in Premier League teams of the year and FIFA World 11s. Like, these are not De Bruyne's. These are not Haaland's. The one that's for sure is Shirky. The rest, I'm unsure. So, yeah, I think Manchester City needs to be looking at their back line instead of their forward line for now. Because, with a guy like that, Erling Haaland, just feed him and he'll score chances, except the ones that he missed today against Brighton. Let's talk quickly about Chelsea. If I can pull this image to the stage, please. You are who you are before you got here. That's the line. You could try to change who you was, but that's just the top layer. Homie, you was who you was before you got here. If I'm quoting Jay-Z correctly. You can take Maresca or Potter or Poch or whoever. You can interchange the pieces as much as you want for Chelsea, it seems. But this team is young-ish. Because every day we all get older, right? So the team's young-ish, ill-disciplined. This season, I think that's their 7th or 8th red card, not including the red cards that Maresca was getting. It's a long ball over the top from Leno that Harry Wilson latches onto far too easy. Cucurella is panicking. Harry Wilson kind of puts out his arm and Cucurella grabs the arm like, please don't score because it's on me. He's feeling all the stress of the situation. And Harry Wilson just makes the most of it. He just falls to the floor, as any professional attacker should do, and he gives the referee a decision to make. Cucurella didn't have much cover. Was it Chalobah, I think, who was trying to get there, but he was never getting there. And it's a red card for Chelsea that ruins their game for the what time this season? 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time that the game is just ruined. You could maybe make a case that the Caicedo red card against Arsenal helped them in some way. I don't know how you could make a case that it was helpful, but they didn't play horribly with 10 men because it gave them it set before them a task that they knew they had to accomplish. This game, Chelsea are supposed to be the team with the ball. They're supposed to be the team that's dominating possession, and you can't do that when you have 10 men against basically any Premier League sides. Maybe Manchester City, maybe Arsenal, maybe Liverpool, but I don't think Chelsea would try. But Fulham is a good opponent, so you're not really going to be able to do that. And they were trying to defend. They were trying their best to defend. But one cross and Jimenez gets a good run, I think, again on Chalobah, puts in a good header, beats Sanchez. Chelsea get very fortunate to get the goal that they got, which was a Liam Delap goal from a corner. I think the ball ricochets off the frame of the goal, finds Liam Delap, and he puts it in 1-1. But again, you're asking for, I think that incident with Cucurella happened in the 20-something minute, 21st, 22nd minute. So you're asking for 70 minutes to play a man down. A Premier League team of Fulham's quality is going to find some way to make that advantage tell, and they did. Harry Wilson scored a really good goal. In my mind, I was like, what was the goal? Oh, yeah, that was a good goal. Damn. Harry Wilson's having a good season, by the way. Like, it should be noted. And Chelsea dropped 3 points in a game that they really couldn't afford to. I think that drops them, if they were in 4th or 5th, they're now 8th in the table. I have the table here. We'll look at it in a bit. Rosenior has a lot of work to do. Like, what they've left him in the last since since everybody thought they were in the title race, and they've basically just capitulated. Even the game against Manchester City, where people are like, oh, it was a good result. They got a point. Callum McFarlane, you still dropped 2 points. I mean, yeah, it's a good point at Manchester City, but the table doesn't say, oh, this was a good point. It just, you've dropped 2 points. Now you've dropped 3. So you've dropped 5 points. Liverpool are in crisis. Worst season, worst title defense since Chelsea in 2015-16 or Leicester or whatever it is. They're above you now. So let me not get animated. It's just, I have hope, and I talked about this on the actual podcast again, which I encourage people to go check out wherever you listen to podcasts. What Chelsea have left Liam Rosenior to do, and the state and the kind of, it's the best way to put it, the condition that they're asking him to operate in is one that is adverse totally to what he would have wanted. Like, meaning, what am I trying to say? That the ideal of being a coach or a manager is somebody who has the autonomy, the authority, the permission to play who they want, when they want, how they want. And Chelsea have so thoroughly neutered the power of every head coach that they've hired. And they've made it so bluntly obvious that they're doing this, which is why someone like Maresca was, get me out of here. I won't even take the full severance. Just get me out of here. It's so obvious, and everyone knows it, that Liam Rosenior is going to be painted with that brush of, you're a yes man, you're a stooge, you're a puppet of BlueCo. So even the decisions that are being made on the pitch, is this you, or is this the puppeteer pulling the strings from above you? And that's why I say it's if you ask Rosenior in his most ideal, or maybe in his most honest moment, is this the situation that you would want to come into? He would say no. No manager would say no. That's why no serious person is going to want to take the managerial, or not even the managerial, the head coaching job of Chelsea Football Club while BlueCo are in charge. Certainly not this wing of BlueCo. And the more I think about it, Todd Bowley was with Tuchel and telling him, do you want to play Cristiano Ronaldo and play 4-4-3? So neither side can be trusted. And the more I look at this team, they need someone who's experienced, because I can't say all, but many of the mistakes that they make are just youthful, dumb, silly mistakes. I mean, now you have a left back who's arguably been your best player this season, and now he's out for 3 games. 3 games that are the first games of the new manager or the new head coach. I keep calling him a manager. You got to stop doing that, bro. He's the head coach. And one of your more important defenders, your second most important defender behind Reece James, if Reece James is classed as a defender these days, is now not playing. And a straight red card would be 3 games. So you're just, if Rosenior was behind the 8 ball in parlance, or if he was snookered, let's say, so the world majority can understand what I'm talking about. It's even worse now. So hopefully he just gets the benefit of, I'm a new guy. You got to give me time. I signed a 6.5-year contract, so I'm going to be here for a while. So these first 10 games, 15 games, 20 games, however many games are left in the season, don't take them too serious. Maybe that's what it is. But if you're having defensive problems like this, I got to remember it's mirrored. If you're having defensive problems like this, or just behavioral issues, sense issues, I think to the Man City game, and like Delap is starting a fight. It's like, use your brain. And bro, Liam, what is your problem, bro? We know your dad. Your dad was a professional footballer. You're a Nepo baby. You're rich. Why are you acting like a thug? Just be nice. You grew up as a footballer's son. Now, to be fair, I don't know how much Rory Delap was getting paid, but still, millions. You're his son. You know what? I'm assuming that their family life is like my family life, which is, we grew up with 2 parents and who knows? Maybe there was a divorce, and Liam Delap grew up with his mom on like with the rough rabble, because he plays just like a brute, and it's wholly annoying to me. But I can understand why some Chelsea fans enjoy it. Speaking of strikers, let's move on to the last. And it's a similar conversation, to be honest. Not that Tesco is like the lap. That's not what I mean. I like Manchester United's kind of secession plan from Ruben Amorim. I must admit, Chelsea have gone full on in the week post Maresca's leaving. We know who our guy is. They're so sure of it. And they're so sure of it that we're giving him a 6.5-year contract immediately. Whereas Manchester United are going about this in a more judicious way. Now, you could make an argument that judiciousness led them to re-signing Ten Hag, that they took too much time and kind of talked themselves into the wrong decision after the FA Cup final win. What was that, 2 seasons ago now? That they should have cut bait with Erik Ten Hag, but they didn't. And they realized it rather quickly that this isn't going to work, so they bring in Ruben Amorim mid-season. Perhaps they learned from that, and we're not going to look for the guy immediately after sacking Ruben Amorim. That's not the way to go. The way to go would have been, you sack Ten Hag, and they brought in Ruud van Nistelrooy. Keep Van Nistelrooy and see how that goes. And then bring in the coach that you want to be the guy in a more advantageous time, or at a more advantageous time. This is a little bit further in the season, so maybe it just makes more sense to do that in January. I think Ten Hag might have been sacked in September, October, or something like that last year. Or at least, no, that was 2 years ago now, wasn't it? That was 2024. The years go by, don't they? I like this plan. See what Darren Fletcher has. He's going to be He managed this game against Burnley. 2-2 draw. Sesko's on the screen because he scored 2 fantastic goals. The first was a really good through ball from Bruno that finds him. The second goal, I think it was Dorgu who finds his run again. Great first time finish. It just so happened, they scored like a freak own goal in the first instance. And then was it Jadon Anthony who scores the 2-2, another good goal. So it was a game of, one fluke and then three good goals, but split 2-2. I don't think there was any real pressure on Fletcher to win this game as such, but Manchester United looked, at least from the highlights, they looked like a more free-flowing, like just a burden had been lifted perhaps from the players, that it's Everything is so serious with Ruben Amorim. He's calling us the worst team ever, worst team in the history of Manchester United, and all of that. So maybe getting rid of somebody who believes these things and says them publicly is just a weight lifted off the players' shoulders. And they looked like it to an extent. And then you think, oh man, they're going to bring back Amad Diallo and Brian Mbeumo from AFCON. And I guess, why is the name Mazraoui from the Moroccan national team is going to come back. So maybe he finds some footing at Manchester United. So they have 3 fairly big time players to add back to this team. And if you look at the Premier League table, I mean, I'll just pull it up. Manchester United aren't too far off like Champions League qualification. I mean, it looks bad because they're in 7th place here, but 32 is what Manchester United are on, and the Champions League spot is at 33 points. Now, Liverpool could extend 4th if they beat Arsenal or get a point to 35 or 37. But yeah, like the potential shift in points that are available and positioning, it's wide open for anybody. From as bad as Spurs have been on 20, they're on 27. The difference between 27 and 32 is 5. And Tottenham have won 1 game in 5, you know? So the Premier League is very congested. And because of that 5th Champions League place, there's so many teams that could perhaps theoretically reach that goal. So I like Manchester United's plan. The plan is see what you got with Fletcher. If that's not good enough, then, or even if it is good enough, but you think you can get someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in, who's proven over 100 games managed for Manchester United, a win rate of, I think, 54%, one of the best post-Ferguson, then you bring that guy in to the end of the year, and then you see what's available at the end of the year, at the end of the season, or maybe even after the World Cup, because that means Nagelsmann, that means Tuchel. The other managers that flashed in my head, because normally you want to say things in a set of 3, right? So I had Nagelsmann, I had Tuchel. I was like, who's the third person to make this point round out well? The 2 names that flashed in my mind were Roberto Martinez, never happening, and Didier Deschamps, also never happening. Maybe Pochettino. Who knows? Let's say America hit a quarterfinal. They mess around, hit a quarterfinal, and Pochettino's stock goes up. Maybe that's a manager that Manchester United would look at. I think he was linked with them in the past. So the World Cup just has people that are there, and then it's an easier time as well to get managers who are at clubs that maybe don't want to leave right now. So if you're Manchester United, if you go to Unai Emery right now, he's not going to want to go because I'm in a good project right now. I'm feeling good. We're hitting our objectives. There's no need to risk my reputation and taking over Manchester United in this current situation. But let's say Manchester United get 5th, Aston Villa are 3rd or 4th, and in the summer, Manchester United, pull up the Brinks truck. I don't know what bank truck company is used in Manchester, but I'll ask Carl. They pull up the truck and they're like, Unai Emery, come manage our team. It's still Manchester United at the end of the day. But that is a more coherent idea. It's not punting or kicking the can down the road. It's just using some tactical sense that Manchester United haven't really exhibited before. And then again, when I compare and contrast that with what Chelsea have done, I like that route better. But at the same time, Chelsea have gone that route because it's an expedient way to get who they want in charge anyway. They don't necessarily want a name or the right person. They want the right archetype. They want the right temperament. Somebody with the correct standing in the game of football who will obey the orders, who will obey the dictates of the people above him. Manchester United maybe are going to be going in a different direction, which is we need to find the guy who's going to tell us what needs to be done and perhaps we follow him. I hope that's the way they go, because I think that's the most sensible way. But we'll know. We'll know if they start looking at, Gareth Southgate or McKenna's or those names. If they bring back the same names that they were looking for after Ten Hag, then we'll know. But if they go the opposite direction, if they go in the Nagelsmann route or the Tuchel route, then I think they're looking at kind of a return to a more Ferguson, Van Gaal, Mourinho type idea. And maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. But I think it's a more solid footing upon which to build whatever Manchester United is to be moving into the 2030s, which is pretty insane. But anyway, again, Liverpool play Arsenal tomorrow. So we'll probably be back doing that. And then there's some AFCON previews that also need to be done. I need to go to sleep. I apologize for being a bit spooky or whatever. Spaced out is the word I'm looking for. So yeah, we'll be back. Remember, check the podcast out, Talking Tactics. Search it wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Acast, wherever you listen to podcasts, bro. Talking Tactics is there. It's me, my boy Half Hope for the Half Hope Football Hut, and occasionally, more than occasionally, my brother Carl Anka, who writes for The Athletic. So check us out. All our links are in the description. Like, leave a comment, share, do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do. You know them. We will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.